What if your PC case came with everything you needed to power and cool your components? And what if the cables were even managed for you? Sounds like a dream, right? Well, with the TD500 Max, Cooler Master wants to make that dream a reality. But is that a fantasy that's too good to be true? We're gonna find out right now, right here on Robeytech. I have a ton of nostalgia for the Cooler Master TD500 PC cases. One of my first high-end PC builds was actually built inside of one. And little do you know, it was called the Cortana build. No, not this one right here. And it was actually one of the first PCs to run the demo of Halo Infinite. Now, as much as I love that PC, seeing and building in the TD500 Mesh V2 last year was a whole gust of fresh air. It was cool, it was quiet, and it had a lot more space to build than the original TD500. Fast forward to today, and Cooler Master has given us this right here, the TD500 Max. It's like one of those all-inclusive resorts, but instead of limitless pina coladas and cocktail shrimp, it's a PC case loaded with just about everything you need for a blissful building experience. Do you need RGB fans with your PC case? How about an AIO? Power supply. The Cooler Master TD500 Max is like your PC building cabana attendant, minus the poolside fruity beverage, fanny pack, and the uncomfortably short khaki shorts. Much like what we saw with the NCore 100 Max and the NR200P Max, all of this isn't free. At launch, the Cooler Master TD500 Max retails for $399.99, which, I agree, sounds like a lot until you start considering what's actually inside of the box. So let's talk about the extras inside this thing. Starting in the front of the case with the AIO, the TD500 Max has the Cooler Master Master Liquid 360 Atomos Max pre-installed. This is one of Cooler Master's newest coolers with a customizable pump head. That is, if you have access to a 3D printer, an Etsy shop, or you live near a micro center that has one. It fits CPUs ranging from Intel's LGA 115X to the current LGA 1700 on Team Blue, and from FM1 all the way up to AM5 sockets on the AMD side. Did I mention that the radiator up front is 38.2 millimeters thick? Considering that most popular AIOs only have a 27 millimeter thick radiator, that's some dummy thick radiator action going on right there. And to support this radiator, Cooler Master has paired it with 3 Mobius ARGB fans. As for the other extra that gives this TD500 its max title, it comes with an 850 watt Cooler Master GX2 power supply. When we were looking at the serial number of the PSU, it actually matched the Cooler Master GX3, which seems to be the current retail GX series of PSUs. Whether it's a 2 or it's a 3, the PSU is an 80+ gold certified PSU, it's fully modular, and it's ATX 3.0, which means it supports one of those beautiful power cables that works with NVIDIA and some other GPUs. And did I mention the best part? The PSU comes pre-installed. Not only that, but these cables also have a multi-stage design for easy installation. The first stage of the cables comes pre-installed and cable managed, while the second stage is left for the builders to route. As much as this idea is a huge hit, there are a few misses that we're going to talk about here soon. But before I get to all that, did I mention that the TD500 Max comes in this exclusive gray chassis? Just like the NR200P Max, it was like one of those rare colors that actually when you see it, it looks really good. And if you're bored of black or white cases, this finish splits the difference between the two while remaining classy. I mean, it really is a very cool color. We've talked about what's inside the box, but we haven't talked about the case itself. As far as dimensions go, the TD500 Max is about 19.65 inches or 499 millimeters long, 8.3 inches or 210 millimeters wide, and 19.69 inches or 500 millimeters tall. For context, that's 6 millimeters longer, 7 millimeters thinner, and 32 millimeters taller than the TD500. So it's like the TD500 went to the gym for about 6 months, basically bulked up, and it still put lift in its shoes. In other words, it's exactly like the TD500 V2 Mesh. As for case I/O and controls, the TD500 Max has 2 USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports, 1 USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C port, as well as a power, an ARGB button, and a combined audio jack. And it's also worth mentioning the Type-A ports actually have gray filling in the ports, which is actually pretty cool to match the whole design. It also has a handy-dandy ARGB fan hub tucked away in the back. As far as weight goes, kind of wish I could tell you it weighs like 362 bananas, but we don't know all the data on how the empty case weighs. displays, but if you want to check out our full review of the Mesh V2, which is right here, it'll give you all of that data. Moving inside of the TD500 Max, you find support for micro ATX, mini ITX, and ATX motherboards, as well as eATX motherboards up to 271.8 millimeters or 10.7 inches wide. That's not quite enough for some of the more robust boards on the market, for eATX that is, but it's nice to know that there's some room for those motherboards that have a bit more girth. Honestly, before you get into trying to fit obscenely large motherboards into this case, we have to go back to talking about the cabling again. The first stages of the two CPU or EPS cables are positioned in a pretty weird spot near the top of the case that makes it difficult to neatly manage those cables. Instead of being able to route the cables to the upper left-hand corner of the case, which is typically where we use the connections and where they are in most motherboards, builders are forced to run those cables across the top of the motherboard to get it to the right spot. I mean, you could probably even see it from right there. I mean, it's that ugly mess. For all of us who like neat cable management, this is the stuff of nightmares. Yeah. If you're one of those people who say, cables bare, don't care, I can't stop you, but I will judge you severely. We couldn't really find a way to make that prettier, so that made the whole out-of-box experience a little disappointed. Now, the second stage, 24-pin cable. That's a whole nother story. The cable design and length made it incredibly easy to position the power cable in such a way that it looks really good once it's in place. That part gets the Robeytech seal of approval, which isn't a seal, but it's RobeyCat instead. Welcome to my nightmare. I do want to clarify, we're talking about these stages, but one thing that you'll notice, and hopefully we'll show you B-roll here, is that the cables themselves, when the stage 2, they actually connect into the back plate. So they're not run through at all. So when we talk about stage 1 it's run to the back by them, and then stage 2, it actually comes off of it and then connects to the motherboard. So when you have these connections we're showing, they're actually coming out of the case in an interesting way. And that's important if you're an AMD lover. We'll get to that a little bit later. Speaking of that, and what else would be neat, unlike the cables here, is if you went ahead and slapped that subscribe button with that like button and ring that notification bell so that you don't miss videos like this one, live streams where we build in cases like the TD500 Max, as well as giveaway PCs, laptops, monitors, and so much more. So let's talk about GPUs. The TD500 Max has support for graphics cards up to 380 millimeters or 14.96 inches in length with the pre-installed front-mounted radiator. Now, if you wanted a little bit more space, which, I mean, honestly, you can see there's actually quite a bit of room, but if you did, you could move the very thick radiator from the front to the top, which kind of defeats the purpose of buying this case, but it's an option. Now, since we're talking about GPUs, we need to talk about pre-installed cables. The GPU connector for the 16-pin cable has a 90-degree connector, which would be fantastic if all GPUs shared the same connector orientation, which, spoiler alert, they don't, like we have on this MSI right here, where this weird thing is pointed up. I'd rather have it pointed down. There's no way to fix that. Speaking of all GPUs, our TD500 Max came with only one 8-pin connector. Now, this is important, and we didn't find any extra cables in the box. So if you were hoping to use this case for higher-end AMD GPUs, you're out of luck. We did ask Cooler Master, hey, what if you wanted to put like a 7900 XT or GRE inside of this case? And they said, yes, we're actually supposed to ship you multiple cables. So what you have is you have that single 8-pin down there that you could connect in, and then you'd have to run some random other cable from somewhere to be able to connect in two cables. If you like AMD, this may not be the case for you unless you're running a mid-range AMD build, which we'll talk a little bit later. So again, you're not completely out of luck if you're running an AMD GPU, but you're kind of in a weird no man's land. Where you aren't out of luck is the option for mounting AIO radiators. The TD500 Max supports front and top mounting for radiators up to 360 millimeters with the pre-installed rad set up in the front position. This also means that there is support for either 120 millimeter or two 140 millimeters in the front or the top of the case. For storage, the TD500 Max has a drive bay that supports two 3.5-inch drives or three 2.5-inch SSDs. Now that we know a bit more about the TD500 Max, it's time to talk about thermals. And as we look at thermals, instead of comparing it with other cases, which is really hard, we're gonna have to make some AIO comparisons to give you an idea of how well this AIO works, because again, the case already has cooling stuff in it, which means we can't test with our own setup. So if you've been around the channel for a bit, we've upgraded our test bench for 2024, moving from testing with a Core i7 12700K up to the much warmer 14700K. We've also changed the GPU from a 4070 Ti to the 3090 Ti purely because it's big and thick. And we want to know how well this case can handle how else any case can handle larger GPUs. And with comparisons, we typically mount our test AIOs in the topmost position, given that we want to give good airflow to the GPU. But you know what? This case comes with the AIO pre-installed in the front of the system where Cooler Master intended it, so we left it there. So with all that in mind, let's get to the numbers. While idling, the TD500 Max averaged 28 degrees Celsius on the CPU and 32 degrees on the GPU. Now, if you're looking at our latest AIO numbers, which for many of us, this is brand new, this is actually before we do all of our AIO reviews, this temps positions the TD500 Max's cooling AIO in between the Corsair iQ Link H150i RGB at an average of 29 degrees Celsius and the Arctic Liquid Freezer 3 with an average CPU temperature of 27. That's not bad when you consider when we're looking at a front-mounted AIO without front air intake feeding it, which I guess it is getting front air intake from front air, but still, you get my point. Now, under full CPU load, the TD500 Max held CPU temp averages at 74 degrees. This temperature put the Atomos AIO in line with the Fantex Glacier 1 D30. Even though that's the warmest AIO in our newest stable of benchmarks, 74 on a 14th gen Intel CPU is not bad at all. As for our 1440p gaming benchmarks, the TD500 Max kept the CPU temps in line with some of our lowest averages at 44 degrees, while GPU thermals performed average with a fair bit higher at 72 degrees. Overall, these temps are great on the CPU side, but they're noticeably higher on the GPU side of things. While there are a number of factors that could be in play, these aren't actually necessarily dangerous temperatures at all. Now, here's the real story with front-mounted AIOs. They tend to limit air intake for the GPU. Even though the CPU was kept nice and chilly, the GPU was left a little bit air-starved. In some cases, this could be solved by having fans mounted at the bottom, but there wasn't really a possibility given the configuration here for the TD500 Max. And Cooler Master has a point about this a little later on. So the moral of the story here is that if you're keeping your AIO front-mounted, be conscious of what your GPU needs from an air standpoint, or you could just go against the design and move the AIO up to the top and adds a few more fans to the party, and I don't know why you do that, but it's an option. Okay, so we've talked about some of the challenges that the TD500 Max presents, as well as some of the awesome features. But some of you out there are asking, Robey, is it worth it? Why don't you come here, take a seat? Some of you are probably already sitting, so if you are, don't stand up, just stay in your seat. If you're new around the channel, we try to make it clear that there is no one-size-fits-all solution for every PC builder. The same applies to the TD500 Max. There is a lot to love with this case. Just like we loved in the TD500 Mesh V2. I still think it's a great case, especially for the price. Now, I know what you're thinking, $400? Have you gone mad? How is $400 a great price for a PC case? And what color is the Cooler Master Kool-Aid you're drinking? And by the way, it's great because that's their color. But I'm not drinking their Kool-Aid. What I'm talking about is that when we talk about value, we have to think about the whole package here. While these aren't exactly one-to-one comparisons, if you were to buy a Cooler Master Atomos 360mm AIO, they typically retail for around $150, $160. Now, the TD500 Mesh does have an extra thick rad, and some people are willing to pay for that kind of extra thing. As for the power supply, Cooler Master GW Series 850-watt PSUs sell for around $145. So if we math that out, which I love that term, math that out, you're gonna get a PC case for around $100, which is essentially the cost of a TD500 Mesh V2 without a pre-installed AIO, power supply, or managed cabling. So in other words, if you're looking at the time savings as a value add, this might be worth it for you. For context, we had a number of people build inside of this, and it took an hour or so for somebody to slap this bad boy together. And these are seasoned PC builders, so even if you're new, it might take you maybe an hour and a half, versus if you watch the whole like Henry Cavill thing, that was like 8 hours. So that's not too shabby when you consider it can take 2 to more hours for like an experienced builder to throw together a PC, especially of this complexity. So this really is a very easy build with an almost plug and play type mechanic, which if you're nervous about building your own PC, this could be a great way to dip your toe into PC DIY. The one word of caution we have to talk about in this case bundle really is about your GPU. Now, if you're planning on building with a mid to high tier AMD GPU and even a high tier NVIDIA GPU, Cooler Master said that this is really targeted at mid-tier builds. And for your AMD folks, they really only gave you one pre-installed cable managed cable. You have to route a second cable to do this right. And it does come with it, but it's kind of weird. And again, with the air starving at the beginning, even though our 4080 Super didn't necessarily starve, if you were to do anything where you want to do overclocking or anything like that, or a 4090, you might actually have some potential temperature issues if you're going above stock. Overall, our experience with the TD500 Max was very similar to the TD500 Mesh V2, as well as the other Max cases from Cooler Master, like the NR200P, etc. Which you should check out our reviews on each of those, and we'll have links down in the description below. They'll give you some extra details that we obviously didn't cover in this video. What I will say about this is that we love the aesthetics, and the performance, and the build experience, and we still recommend it. But with the pre-installed AIO and PSU, our recommendation has changed ever so slightly. So the TD500 Max takes a lot of the guesswork out of putting a PC together, and given the performance, they actually did a pretty good job with the parts that they chose. Like other Max cases, everything is laid out and routed, so you can easily and relatively quickly have your first PC DIY built. That being said though, the TD500 Max is for builders who aren't fussy about how their AIO tubes route, who aren't fussy about the direction of their cables, who aren't fussy about how their cables look when inside their build. And if that's you, like that's me, this may be something you may want to reconsider. But if you are someone who's looking to build their first PC, but you don't have a lot of time, or you don't want to choose all the parts, the Cooler Master TD500 Max is a fantastic choice. And honestly, the custom color is pretty sweet. So as we wrap this up, we want to give a huge shout out obviously to Cooler Master for letting us check out the TD500 Max and for responding to answers to our questions. But we want to know what you think about it. Do you like seeing PC cases paired with other components like AIOs and PSUs? I mean, NCXT's done it, Cooler Master's done it. What do you think of it? And then the other thing too is, what do you think about the fact that the cabling looks the way that it does? Am I just being overly dramatic, or are you okay with it? Let us know all that down in the comments below. And while you're down there, go ahead and slap that subscribe button, whip that like button, and ring the notification bell so that you get a notification each and every time we post a video like this here at Robeytech. And if you want to continue the conversation, maybe talk a little bit about the parts or anything else, you should head over to discord.gg/Robeytech. Great place with like-minded PC building community that love to have these conversations, and you know what? You might make a friend. Also, follow us at Robeytech absolutely everywhere on all the socials. But thank you so much for watching this video, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.